you always wanted to make New York style cookies? Oh, I forgot my mic. Hang on a second. Let's try that again. Have you always wanted to know how to make thick New York style cookies at home? Come, I'll show you how. Hi, I'm Jess from Sweetest Menu, and I've been a recipe developer for over 10 years now. And one of the questions I get asked the most is, why are my cookies flat, or why do they spread too much when they baked? So these are the issues that we're going to solve today as we make our thick New York style cookies. We're going to start by mixing together our butter and sugar, but we're going to use cold butter straight from the fridge, so you don't need to worry about letting it soften on the bench or bringing it to room temperature. We're going to pop it in the stand mixer today. You can do this using a hand mixer, but when we use cold butter, it's really nice to have that extra power. Now, cookies spread in the oven as the butter melts, but we're going to slow that process down today by using cold butter. In saying that, if you don't have a stand mixer or you only have a hand mixer and you don't want to use cold butter, you can use room temperature or softened butter in this recipe, but you will need to chill the dough if you want to get that height on those cookies. We're also using all brown sugar today. Brown sugar not only adds molasses, so a beautiful caramel-like flavor, but also causes less spreading in cookies when compared to caster sugar or granulated sugar. Now you can see here we're mixing the butter and sugar just until it's combined. You don't need to cream the butter and sugar. That'll only warm your butter even more and also aerate the mixture, creating a cakey cookie. And that's not what we're after today. Next, we're going to add a cold egg and a really good dash of vanilla. Then it's time to mix again on medium speed just until combined. Then it's time to add the flour, and I highly recommend using a kitchen scale or baking scale to measure your flour for the most accurate results. It's really easy to overmeasure flour when using cup measurements, and when you're doing something like cookies, a little bit of extra flour can result in a dry, dense cookie. We're also adding 1 tablespoon of cornflour. This helps to create a nice chewy cookie, but it's not necessary. If you don't have access to cornflour, or sometimes called cornstarch, you can absolutely leave it out, or even just add an extra tablespoon of regular flour. Then we're adding some baking soda and some salt. Now we're going to mix again, just on a low speed until a really beautiful cookie dough forms. And now it's time for my favorite part, the mix-ins. Today we're adding 2 different types of chocolates. My biggest tip for creating a gooey chocolate chip cookie with really melty chocolate puddles is to actually ditch the chocolate chips and opt for a block of chocolate instead. I'm also adding walnuts today because this recipe was inspired by the famous Levain Bakery in New York, and they add chocolate chunks and walnuts to their cookie, but you can absolutely leave them out or use a different nut if you prefer. Now I'm going to roughly chop the chocolate using a large straight-edged knife. There's no need to be exact here. It's even better if the chocolate chunks are all different shapes and sizes, because they'll melt and make a really rustic looking beautiful cookie, which is exactly what we want. Once you've chopped all your mix-ins, you can add them into your cookie dough and then just mix on low speed until you have the perfect chocolate chip cookie dough. Now, instead of portioning out and rolling your cookie dough completely smooth using your hands, I like to use what I call the pinch and squeeze method. Grab some of the cookie dough and then you just pinch and squeeze it together to kind of create, it's still a cookie dough ball, but it's very rustic. And that's exactly what we want. If we roll it smooth, the cookies they'll come out and they'll kind of be flat and very one-dimensional. But we kind of want a cookie that's thick and has crevices and cracks where all the chocolate can pool into, and I'll show you what I mean when we bake them, but this is a really important step. So I don't even use a cookie scoop here, just use my hands. So we're going to pop them on a baking sheet that I've just lined with some baking paper or parchment paper. Now you just need to make sure you leave room between the cookie dough balls so the cookies can spread. Now we're going to bake these cookies at 160 fan or 180 for about 12 to 14 minutes. I like to take mine out at 12 minutes so they're a little bit undercooked, but it's really up to you and what you prefer. But remember that cookies do firm up quite a bit as they cool. So I would say take them out a couple of minutes earlier than you think, and then they'll probably be your perfect cookie by the time they cool. Now we're just going to finish them off with a big generous sprinkling of sea salt. And you see how the different rolling technique of the cookie dough has really changed the cookie's texture. They are exactly as promised. Lumpy, bumpy, they've got cracks, they're rustic, they're perfect. And you can also see what a difference the chocolate made rather than chocolate chips. I mean, look at those gooey chocolate puddles. These really are the best thick and chewy New York style cookies. If you're worried about the cookies spreading or you've had this issue before, then do one test cookie. And then if it's spreading too much, pop it back in the fridge for more chill time, or you can even freeze it and bake it from frozen if you like. You can also change up the chocolate, nuts or mix-ins. I've made versions of this on my website. You will find a Biscoff version, an M&M version, a double chocolate version. You can find the easy recipe and all my tips on sweetestmenu.com. I'll pop a link in the description below, and if I didn't answer any of your questions, please leave me a comment, or if you get to try the recipe, let me know how it goes. I'd love to hear from you. Have you always wanted to make New York style cookies at home, but you didn't know how? No, that's not it. Have you always wanted to make thick New York style cookies at home? I've got you covered. No, don't want any thumbs up. Why do you do a thumbs up? Chunky, I'm new to this whole video thing.